to worry about that. This is Damian Macy, representing the Friends of the Marshall Public Library in our Oral History Project. Today is Wednesday, June the 14th of 2017, and I have with me at the library Jan Jones. She's got some interesting stories, I'm sure, to tell us about her early childhood, her career, and probably some things that's happened at school while she was teaching. So with that, Jan, you're on.
Okay. Well, I was born January 1st, 1941 in Terre Haute. My parents are Russell and Laura Partlow Junker. My only sibling was in high school when I was born. I think she was 14. And she always said, I just always thought Mom and Dad had you for me. So we got along pretty well with our age difference. I lived in Marshall all my life until I went away to college. And then I lived in Indianapolis about 10 years and then taught there, came back to teach here. One story I've heard, I don't remember it of course, but on December 7th, 1941, which I would have been about 11 months old, Zion Church, the church I grew up in, was having some kind of a meeting. I think maybe they were dedicating the new building. And I guess, started acting up and fussing, and Mother took me out to the car. Well, while she was in the car, she heard the news about the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And different ones have told me they remember Mother running back into church with me and telling the congregation that this had what had happened. So that was
a major world event that many people consider that kind of a memorable point in their lifetime.
I don't remember anything about it, but well, my sister graduated from high school when she was 17 and got married right after that. So by the time she was 19, she'd had my first niece. So I was an aunt when I was 4, and then 6 and 8 and 10, and then a few years later, 3 more nieces and nephews. So
what was your sister's name?
Betty Joanne Junker Tingley. So her children are some of them more my age than my own sister was. I went to Zion Church all those years. It was a wonderful church to grow up into. And now we're going to Armstrong Church, which has been there many years. It's out close to where we live. We lived on the edge of town in those days, 415 North 12th Street, and there was cows across the road at that time. Of course, now there's houses there. But it was kind of in the country, and I grew up with lots of boys. There was hardly any girls in my neighborhood, so I got to play a lot of football and basketball and become a real good tomboy. I guess Daddy said I was the only boy he ever had, so I'd go hunting with him, and we did a lot of fishing, especially on vacations. Had a big garden. Oh, it was a big day when Elmer Renner would come with his plow and plow the garden, and then the next day or two he'd come with his disc and disc the garden, and then we'd have to rake. And Daddy always had a big garden.
With that location and being right on the edge of town, was there any livestock across the street?
Oh yeah, there were cows right across the road there on Hickory Street. We lived at 12th and Hickory. Okay. Well, Dad had, I wasn't there when they moved there, but there was a shop there, kind of a workshop, and then he'd added a room to it, I guess you'd call it, for chickens. So we always called it the chicken house, although it was a shop. And then when the new highway went through back then, he got a lot of bricks, those big old bricks that were like 4 by 4 by 8s or something. And he built a barn out of it. He always called it the hog house because he had hogs there. Well, my aunt and uncle lived in the south end of town. They decided they wanted to move to north end. So Daddy fixed up what he called the chicken house for him. Made a cute little house for him. So they lived in the chicken house. And then when my sister and Wayne Tingley was her husband, got married, they needed a place to live after he got out of the service. So he fixed up the hog house. For them, it had 2 stories. And so he always said he fixed the chicken house up and then the hog house up. And then my grandparents finally moved into what he called the chicken house. And he told me he'd fix the dog house for me when I got married, but he never did. But we had a lot of family living right there, and we all had big gardens. Did a lot of canning.
That brick building you mentioned, is that by any chance still standing?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No, Mother, it got, but several people lived there over the years. And Santa Claus worked there too, because one time I went upstairs and I saw a sled up there that he was working on. It appeared under the Christmas tree. So it was a workshop at the top of that barn too, I guess. But anyway, going to Marshall schools was really good, and it's kind of funny because you always think all the teachers are old, when you go to school. Then it turned out that I went to college, taught in Indianapolis a while, moved back to Marshall, then I taught with some of the same teachers that had been my teachers. I realized they probably were just out of college whenever I had them.
What school did you go to? The Old North Side
The Old
School?
North School, yeah. Yeah.
What do you remember about it?
Well, I remember there are 4 rooms downstairs, and there's big stairways on both sides, and then you go upstairs, and there's more rooms upstairs. Now, I was not there when the junior high was there, though. We just went through 6th grade, and I lived there.
I went the
there.
first 4 years of school there.
Did you?
There were still 8 grades.
Okay.
But Von Arnie came over, and we had music up on the 3rd floor.
Oh. Well, the music teacher came to the classroom at that time.
Okay.
I think each room had a piano, maybe. I'm not sure. We used to have a good time. In those days, the North School played the South School in softball, and it was always fun. That was like a Friday afternoon 2 or 3 times a year. We'd go down there and play, or they'd come up to our school and play. So it was good.
Jen, do you remember some of your teachers that you may have had?
Oh, I remember all my teachers, probably. I think maybe only one is still living in the elementary school. But, yeah, Mrs. Phoenix and Mrs. Connerton, Mrs. Klein, Mrs. Sweet, Miss Bubeck, and Mrs. Irwin. Now, Mrs. Irwin's the one that is still living. And I taught with Mrs. Irwin and Miss Bubeck.
I had Miss Phoenix, Mrs. Connerton, and Mrs. Klein, all from my first 3
Did you?
grades there
Yeah.
also.
Yeah. Anyway, it was fun.
Was there a particular subject that you liked or really enjoyed?
Oh, I didn't really like school very well. I got to be about the 5th grade, I guess, where I really started thinking it was kind of fun. But it was funny because I thought, not liking school, then ended up teaching school for 35 and a half years, spent most of my life in school. But,
Do you remember some of the, say recess and what you did at recess? Because there wasn't a lot of gym equipment or anything there to work with.
No, we had swings and teeter-totters and merry-go-round. We played games different tag games. We played a lot of softball. And so, I don't know.
And you walked from home to school there?
Yes, it was not too far, maybe, I don't know, half a mile or so probably.
How about lunch? There wasn't such a thing as a cafeteria.
No, you could take your lunch, or lunches were 25 cents a meal in those days. And if we wanted to eat in the cafeteria, we had to go out to the high school to eat.
Oh.
And they would pick us up with the bus, but most of us didn't do that. We ran because we wanted to beat the bus, get there before everybody else did. And then there was one boy in our class whose dad would sometimes come by and pick us up and take us out to eat. But I spent a lot of time in 4-H too, all the years, and I still use some of those 4-H recipes. Was in 4-H, and then Mrs. Gamm was a very good leader. Then our kids were in 4-H. That's how we got started in the sheep business. And then we were 4-H leaders.
Yeah.
And now I've got grandkids in 4-H. All of them have been in 4-H.
Wonderful program.
It is. It is. Yes, it sure is. I helped on the farm. Betty and Wayne lived south of Casey. And, of course, they had several children. I started going over there probably when I was about 10. That's how I learned to drive. In those days, you inoculated the beans, and you had the big truck with beans, and you drive through the field. Well, that's how I learned to drive. I drive a 1.5-ton truck. You had to double clutch. I was probably 10 or 11 driving in the field to move the truck up to inoculate the beans.
It's a lot of machinery to maneuver around, isn't it?
Yeah. So they don't do those things anymore. But
so who taught you how to shift the gears and how to run that truck?
My sister, and she said just go out in the middle of the field and practice, and you don't hit anything. So I just went out there, learned how to do it. So, it's kind of she liked the farm too.
Learned by error, huh?
Yeah. I was in city band. I was in band and chorus. In those days, there wasn't any sports for girls, competitive sports. So there was Girls Athletic Association, the GAA, which I was in that for 4 years. Our youth group went to the University of Indianapolis on the trip one time, and that's how I found out about that school, and that's where I ended up getting my undergraduate. And two of my nieces had gone there, and we have two grandchildren going there now. I graduated from high school in 1959, and graduated college in 1963, and we got married June the 8th, 1962.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Probably reading. I still
And,
read a lot.
I'll ask, what was your least favorite?
Probably social studies.
No.
History, I don't know. Let's see. I got a Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education, then later went ahead and got my Master's in Elementary Education, then I went ahead and got a sixth year of experience in college, or college grade. I don't want to say classes. There wasn't. At that time you didn't have to have a major for your 6th year if you want to just take extra classes and get. That's how you got a raise after you got so far in the school system. You had to get more
Was
college.
your master's degree back at the same school?
No, I got it in Indiana State.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What would say your most outstanding memory of high school?
Oh, I suppose proms,
Hmm.
and when we won the football championship in the fall of would have been 58. It was an undefeated team, and Tom was on the team, so football games,
Special.
marching band and all that was always fun.
What did you play in the band?
Well, I played a cornet till I got braces on my teeth, and then I switched to drums, and then I switched to French horn, and then back to trumpet or cornet. Yeah, Mr. Armour kept me in band.
Do you do anything with music today?
No, not really. Yes, I was in city band several years. But, we spent time going to the candy kitchen about every day. You go to the candy kitchen after school, and you can get. I always like to get a vanilla Coke,
Oh,
5 cents. If you really were feeling wealthy, you'd get a chocolate marshmallow peanut stir, which was 25 cents.
What, again, speaking of the candy kitchen, what is your early memories of downtown Marshall?
Well, there were 2 drugstores. There was 2 or 3 clothing stores. I don't remember any. There were several taverns, I think. But Ratamakers, and there was people that sold farm machinery and cars around the square too.
Did your parents do most of their shopping in Marshall? Or?
Yes, at that time there were a lot of grocery stores in Marshall. I mean, little stores. We usually went to Bill Pierce's store. That was the closest one to us. But there was other stores around.
Did you ever visit that place called the Strand Theater?
Oh, yes. My friend's dad ran that,
Oh, really?
and he was running it when it burned that night. And I can't remember what night that year it was, but I'm guessing it's around 56 or 57. We used to always go there on Saturday afternoons and get in for 9 cents and see
Well, I remember that.
the Western and all the
Yes.
newsreels and everything.
Well, I remember they always had a cereal, too, that you had to go next week to
Oh,
find out what happened.
Well, that was a good thing to bring you back. I want to go back to our wedding for a minute. But you can put that back where it goes. My grandparents got married on June the 8th, 1902. And my parents got married on June the 8th, 1924. Tom and I got married on June the 8th, 1962. And our daughter and her husband got married on June the 8th in I have to think here a minute. This is running all this time. She got married in 1990. So that's four generations, and I keep telling the grandkids somebody's got to get married on June the 8th to make it 5 generations.
You don't have to mark too many dates on the calendar.
Right.
Remember, do you?
That's right. We got married at Zion Church, and then Tricia got married at Zion Church and wore my wedding gown, had mother's pearls and her grandma's handkerchief worked into her bridal
Wow, that's
bouquet.
great.
So it's kind of neat. I do remember some things about the war, just a little bit. I remember one blackout. I'd gone in the bedroom. I must have been 2 or 3. I can remember 3 maybe. And all of a sudden, all the lights went out. And how scared I was in there when the lights went out. And then when the war was over, I remember Dad was working in the strawberry patch, and I ran down to tell him that the war was over. So that was kind of things. Of course, I think growing up, Russia was scary. Just wondering what Khrushchev was going to do and what would be next. And that was kind of hanging over your head all the time about Russia.
Do you remember some of the rationing of foods and tires?
I don't remember any of
gasoline?
it, but I have some books at home.
Little stamps?
And I remember buying stamps at school for 10 cents. You had little books
Yeah.
and you could buy stamps, and I have some of those at home. I do remember when JFK, I just hadn't taught very long when JFK got assassinated, and the teacher next door, I was teaching in Indianapolis, came over and called me out in the hall and told me that. I thought she was joking. I thought she was always telling me some joke, but of course it wasn't. And we had to, we had a black ribbon around our flag in our classroom then for quite a while.
Were you in Indianapolis proper or out in the
Yes, I
suburbs?
taught in the inner city, pretty much, yeah. We lived south. We lived down by in University Heights, but I taught it on the east side of Indianapolis.
And what subject did you teach there?
Oh, I taught 3rd grade, everything. Well, I didn't teach music, art, or PE. But I was teaching when they made it a law you couldn't say the Lord's Prayer anymore in the classroom, and that was hard to tell the kids. I mean, it was right in the middle of the year. It wasn't like beginning next year. It's right now, no more. And that was hard to say that to the classroom, that we couldn't do that anymore. We've spent a lot of time going to Kentucky Lakes. We've gone there every year, over 40 years. Our kids were very little, and we've taken them, and now we take our grandkids there. The same campground and everything, so we ski and we camp and we have a good time.
That's what I was just getting ready to ask you.
Yeah.
Did you camp out in the tent, or do they have cottages there? Or?
Well, we have had campers all the time. Went from a truck camper to a tent camper to a truck camper to a motor home to fifth wheels.
Okay.
So we've been to all the states, and we've been to all the countries, all the continents except Antarctica, which that's
Same
kind
here.
of a bucket list. I guess I want to go to Antarctica just so.
I don't think we'll ever get down and play with the penguins or
I
at
don't
the
think
seals.
No. Being in 4-H is how we got started with sheep. We had sheep with the kids for quite a while, quite a number of years, and plus all the other activities in 4-H. So we live out in the country and love it.
You might mention your children's names also.
Okay. Travis was born in Indianapolis in 1966, and Tricia, Tricia, was born in Paris in 1968, not too long after we moved back. And Trav and his family live north of Denison, and Tricia and her family live in Bloomington, Illinois. So, Trav and Amy have 3 children, and Tricia and Kevin have 4. So
You got
and
grandchildren.
yes, and we have a step granddaughter. So
Okay.
we're very blessed. We've been blessed to live in Marshall, blessed the places we've lived and the people we've known. I just love teaching school. All those kids are so much fun, and their parents were so neat and wonderful and everything. Just lots of good memories.
You mentioned teaching in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Where and what brought you back to Marshall then?
Well, Tom, I went through school in 3.5 years because I wanted to get out, and I went summers. Well, we were married, and Tom had to work. So he worked full-time, went part-time to the University of Indianapolis. So it took him like 6 years to get through. When he got through, he worked at Penny's and decided maybe he didn't want to go into management. So he came back and talked and found out he could get a job in Marshall.
Okay.
So he moved back, and we moved back, and he started teaching 6th grade. He'll probably tell you all this maybe when he gets a
Well,
chance
maybe
to.
a little overlap, but
Yeah.
it's interesting if what brought you
Uh-huh.
back home.
That's why we came home. We've never been sorry. We We like living in this town.
What year was it that you moved back to
1968, right
68?
before Tricia was born. Played a lot of tennis growing up. Down by the Catholic Church was a tennis court, and we spent hours and hours playing tennis down there. When I taught in Indianapolis, you had big classrooms. A lot of times 40, 36 to 40. You had to have 34, or if you didn't, they'd give you a split grade. So one year I had a split second, third, just for a while. But the kids behaved. The parents backed the teachers and everything. You know, you could do that. So. Anyway, I don't know. Conveniences, I guess microwaves and TVs was the two that I can think would have been the most interesting. Everybody had a TV but me, I thought, when I was in about junior high. And a friend of mine didn't have one either, and we kind of wished we could just get an aerial and put it up at our house so people think we had one, whether we had one or not. But I had a lot of pets. Dad thought all kids should have a dog and a cat, and I had a dog and a cat, and then I had pet coon, a pet skunk, pet snake.
What was the skunk's name?
Oh, we call him Petunia. And I even took him to school in a bird cage. He was just a cute little thing. It's when I taught in Indianapolis, still had him over there.
Was he de-skunked?
No, because they always, when we'd done that before, they died, so.
Oh, dear.
He was nice.
I bet that brought quite a bit of excitement at school.
Oh, no, he just slept pretty much inside these little cages.
I meant to the students and people around.
Oh, I don't. He was little, you know. He didn't mind.
Do you have pets today?
Well, we have horses and a cat. That's all we have right now. We've had dogs. Tom can tell you some dog stories. He gets here maybe after a while about our border collies. But I don't know if there's anything else. Oh, we have gone on 22 mission trips since we retired, starting with Katrina.
I'll ask, step back here. What year did you retire then?
2002.
Okay, and at that time you were teaching what?
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade.
North School.
Okay.
I was at South School for 20 years and North School for 10 years, and the other years was in Indianapolis.
Was that one of your favorite grades? You mentioned grade
Yeah.
school mostly all the career.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a particular grade that you like best?
No, I had mostly. I had third and fourth both. They're both good. Yeah, I liked them both. It's so much fun to see the kids and see what they remember about when we were together years ago.
Have you by any chance kept track of any of them to determine what their career path?
Oh, anytime I see them or see their parents, I check up on them. Yeah.
Kind of interesting to see
It
where
is.
some of them go.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But you see anything else?
Well, when you retired and you mentioned enjoying that classroom so much, did you have a feeling, Jan, of like, what do I do now?
No, we've been too busy. I never went back and substituted or anything.
What
We,
is it? Okay,
we
that's gonna be
started
our next
keeping grandkids in the summer after we retired while their parents worked. And so I've just always kept busy with kids, I guess.
And you mentioned you had been on, what was it, 22
22.
mission trips? Why don't you tell us a little bit about some of those?
Well, the first one we went to was Katrina. And my goodness, seeing cars and trees and things like that. It's just, that was we went to Mississippi and had to take our own water and everything as we went. But when we got down there, there was water. Let's see, who was it? Who brings things around? Salvation, no, it's not it.
Red Cross?
Red Cross. Yes, they would bring food, and if people needed shots, they would give them shots. But we worked in a church one time, and the water had settled 11 feet deep in it.
Oh,
And the people before us, they'd run 3 truckloads from the fire truck through it. And some other groups had taken out the pews, so we had to rip up the carpet, and we cleaned all the pews and everything. The pastor had made the furniture, and it was a really good finish on that furniture, and it was still good. It was all out in the yard by that time, so we scraped on that, and worked on that. We went back to see that church a couple of years later, we were down on another trip, and they were having services in it again.
But that'd be rewarding to see what was actually the
yeah.
results of what you've
Yeah.
done.
We have been to several states. We've been to Texas, and we went to New Jersey when they had trouble not too long ago. We've been to Florida. We went to went to an Indian reservation and worked in Mississippi. We went to Liberia and worked on a church, which was really interesting, to work with people, see how they did things.
Did you feel at all uneasy or uncomfortable there?
No, we didn't. We always just figure they won't put us in a bad
Behave
place.
yourself.
So, yeah, so. But we work at a boys' ranch, which is southwest from Branson. We've been down probably
Oh, yeah.
6 or 7 different trips to work at that ranch.
Are these trips basically ones sponsored through your church?
Some are through the church, some are through Illinois Volunteers,
Okay.
which is a group we're affiliated with over around Wood River, Illinois. And so it's just a really good group. I go again in a minute. Well, I think we're going to Costa Rica in December.
Okay. Have you been there before?
No, I haven't.
Beautiful place.
I'd like to go there, but every time I look at a trip, it's 2 weeks. That's too long to be gone. About 10 days is long enough, so this will be about a week. We'll go on a work trip, and then if we want to go back, I guess we can go back and do that. But,
Do you know what you'll be working with in Costa Rica?
well, I'm not sure. It looks like it'll be housing, probably working on housing. I don't know till we get there, I guess. I hope we get to go.
In these trips, and maybe even the mission trips too that you've traveled, and you've been to a lot of places,
Yeah.
Have a favorite?
I don't know. The national parks in the United States are wonderful. Peru was really wonderful. We went to Machu Picchu and different places. You've been there too, haven't you?
Mhm.
Yeah. So Germany, we went to the Passion Play in Germany, which was good. Several things we've seen in Ireland, and Kiss the Blarney Stone and those kind of things.
Have to do that. So is there a place that you'd really put, say, at the top of the list that, boy, if I have a chance, I'd go back
Go
there?
back? Oh. I'd probably go back to Alaska, maybe. Again.
Good choice.
Yeah. Hawaii, I don't know. Good.
They're all great. You mentioned the state parks, and I think so many times people feel that there's nothing too much to do. Well, after you've done this and that in the United States, there's nothing much else. But the state parks are just
Yeah.
jewels.
Oh, the national parks too, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, one year we took a vacation just the state of Indiana, spent a whole week just doing things in Indiana, and we didn't hit all the spots we wanted to even
Right.
then, so there's things to do.
And the state parks are wonderful
They're nice,
too.
yeah. They are.
Do you have a favorite national park?
Well, I like Carlsbad Caverns. That's
Uh-huh.
all I like. Anything around
You've been
Grand
to
Canyon and
Been to some of the Utah parks?
oh yeah, Bryce and
Right.
yeah, it's
Amazing.
great sand dunes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to take our family on some of these with us, and so we've gone. We took them all to Mexico once over Christmas, and for our anniversary, we went out on a Western trip and things. It's getting harder now with too many kids in grad school and jobs and everything. Hard to get everybody together.
Are there places that you have been that you'd say, gosh, I don't know, I don't think I want to go back there? Maybe because of the military situations or the
I don't know.
Unrest?
I don't know about China. I think I'd like to go back there, but I don't know.
Not to North Korea.
Oh no, I won't want to go there. No, there. I wouldn't want to go there. I don't think I'd be afraid to go anywhere really, as long as you're with a group, and I figure you have to trust them to not get you in trouble. I don't know.
You know? I've been to some places that right today, I don't think I'd
Where would you
care to
not
venture
go?
back. Well, we walked across Tahrir Square in Cairo, Egypt a couple
We
times.
haven't been there.
But my land with the uneasiness there now, I don't think I'd care to go back at all.
Yeah, probably not.
Some areas
We've
in
never
Greece
been.
and Turkey.
Yeah, we've never been in any of those places.
So it's just a different world today than
Yeah.
it was. I guess to hitchhike on that retirement from teaching, do you think you'd like to start teaching if you were to start today?
I don't think it's as much fun today as it used to be.
You'd say that?
We had so much freedom. If a big snow came up, well, I could just take my class out and we'd play fox and goose for a while. We'd come in, whatever, have.
Do you think, though, too, the students and their attitudes have changed a lot?
I would say parents maybe. Parents used to back the teachers no matter what. It's not that way so much anymore. There's, I don't know. I guess I was happy when I taught, and I've loved teaching. I love being retired. So.
It was interesting that you did not go back and substituted any, because that's something many.
Well, you can't see any growth that way, and I'd like to see somebody that can't read one week and the next week he's learned a few words or something like that, you know. One day here you just filling in, you can't really see any growth, so that's why I did it.
Jan, is there a historical event that has really made an impact on you? You did mention the war, but you didn't remember that.
No.
Is there a historical event that's really had an impact on your life or your attitude?
I don't know, I suppose cat assassination, maybe.
Well, how about people? Is there someone or group you can say, boy, they really steered me in the right way, or maybe cast an attitude that, oh boy, I really have changed since meeting them?
No, I don't think so. My parents were parents and grandparents. My church was all good influences and steered me in the right directions. I
Teachers
guess.
did too, then.
Teachers, yeah. They were all respected, so.
What about, you mentioned the microwave and all. Is that something you could say, gosh, I really couldn't live without that?
Oh, I think I could live without any of it if I had to. You know, I think I could have been an old pioneer woman maybe, but I don't want to have to do without those things, but it's not.
Today, air conditioning might be pretty important.
Yeah, that's
too.
pretty nice too. Yeah. But I didn't grow up with the microwaves and the TVs and the air conditioning and all those things, and we got along fine, so.
But I think it's a feeling that as time marches on, we all get a little softer too.
Yeah, probably.
It's something we get used to, and gosh, you just have to have it to keep your comfort level and standard of living up.
I think I could do whatever, probably, with or without.
You're not willing to take a trek out west though and build your own log cabin and camp there, huh?
Oh, I might do that.
In your career here now, as retired and you're doing a lot of traveling, you say, I've still got some things in the bucket list I'd like to do.
Yeah. There's some parks I'd like to go to. And I'm like to go to Antarctica. I'd like to take the grandkids some places yet that they haven't been. I have one granddaughter whose ambition is to go to all the national parks in the United States, so
We've
I'd
thought
like to
about
go
that,
with her.
but
Yeah.
I think we've hit 46 of them or something.
Oh yeah, I don't know how many there are. But
I think we're 58.
58.
on that.
I'd probably never get all that done. No, I'm happy.
Great.
Staying home reading a book or canning. We still have a big garden. I do a lot of canning, a lot of freezing, and keeping grandkids. So it's just a good life.
You mentioned your parents always had a big garden.
Mm-hmm.
I'll bet you have one too, don't you?
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, when we all three there, Grandma and Grandpa had a big garden, and Uncle Ron and Aunt Dorothy had a big garden, and we had a big garden, and lots of canning went on, freezing. So it's just the way I grew up.
In the time that you were teaching, which spanned a few years,
Uh-huh.
you saw a lot of changes in, the physical things in the classroom that you had. What were those things that you really feel helped most in the education?
What things, you mean?
There weren't televisions when I went to school.
No, we could get movies and show movies of things. And that was one AV class you had to take to learn how to run those projectors, thread those projectors.
I guess now they've got the whiteboards and all of the stuff with the projectors.
And they all got their own little computer.
I mean, those things just
Yeah.
boggle my mind that,
Well, I remember when calculators first came out, we had to have a training session on calculators so we'd all know how to teach the kids to use a calculator. That's been a long time ago.
I mean, that's the type of thing that you saw come in and
Yeah.
become really a part of the classroom.
Uh-huh. And we did have computers. We could bring them to our classroom and use different programs and everything. So.
Where do you see education continuing to go?
I don't know. In some ways, I hope it kind of goes back the way it used to be. To more interaction with people and not just machines. Maybe. Yeah.
It bothers me with all the young people are so busy with their texting and their cell phone. They're not interacting, as you said, with people around them even.
Yeah, even across the room, texting.
Will they be able to talk and make an interview or anything else when they get ready? Do you see that as a continuing
Thing? Oh, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine what it would be like in 20 years when you think what's happened in 20 years.
It's almost scary.
Yeah, it is.
Well, if you were in, you've traveled over there, let's say you were in England or France or somewhere, and someone said, well, where are you from? He said, I'm from Marshall, Illinois. They said, oh, where on earth is that? What would you tell them about Marshall and why it might be a good place to visit or maybe even move to?
Well, I tell them, you've heard of Chicago, so we're south of Chicago, but we are not Chicago. There's more to Illinois than Chicago. I say it's a small town with lots of things to do around here for kids, ball games and different sports activities, swimming pools, places you can go to camp and go to a couple lakes, and lots of churches and things you can do that will enrich your life a lot. So I would recommend anybody come here to move, unless they really are a big city. And then you can go to Indianapolis or Chicago or St. Louis.
And Marshall's pretty safe and clean.
We hope so.
Well, Jan, it's been a great visiting with you.
Good talking
And
to
you know, these interviews are not for today or tomorrow or even next week. They're really for the future.
Okay.
And someone's going to come along and say, gee, I didn't know that about Jan Jones.
Well, I don't think I've lived a very interesting life. Most people wouldn't think so.
Oh, I think everyone's had a story, and certainly your travels are something that many people have not had an opportunity or a chance to do that. So it's been great visiting with you, and I'm glad you take part in things in the library.
I do.
And keep traveling.
Okay, you too.